So it will always be. But I know I shall never make the same mistake again. The practice of religion is an ongoing call to conversion, a process that is not without its difficulties or its stumbling blocks. All believers claim divine origin for their religions and divine communication for their scriptures. A Christian considers his or her religion, first and foremost, as a place where human misery encounters divine love and mercy. A Christian is not afraid to pose the question or to be asked the question, why? But the Christian is also conscious that if one poses uncomfortable questions, then one must expect uncomfortable answers. In the light of so many massacres and atrocities that have taken place, and they still do, irrespective on whose behalf they are perpetrated, one is tempted to ask, where is God? By way of reply, one is referred to the very first question God posed to humanity in the Bible. Where are you? The challenge to believe leads to another question of vital importance, namely, will religion still be considered relevant to our societies? In other words, will it be capable of addressing the challenges posed by our secular cultures? For a Christian, religion continues to play a prophetic role in contemporary society, and it is indeed immense. It consists of guiding us from the path of mere outward ritual to a dynamic relationship, from external observance to an encounter with the living God, from symbolism to true meaning. Christians are called upon to witness that the human being is not reduced to what he or she shows or produces, that the family is the natural environment in which one learns how to love, that simple gestures are enough to restore hope to those who consider themselves marginalized, or even worse, forgotten. Let us not forget the words of Jesus. I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. As you did to one of the least of my brethren, you did it to me. The role of religion in helping construct a more humane society is first of all that of being an attentive listener. An attentive listener to the cries of anguish which betray a sense of meaninglessness that lies at the heart of humanity today, as well as an impassioned and coherent witness of a faith that is forever new, dynamic, and relevant. The first letter of Peter exhorts his addressees, always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who calls you to account for the hope that is in you. Religion's special power lies in creating communities. It teaches us how to construct and direct human relations, from an attitude of utility to one of love, to one of truth, justice, and respect that serve the common good of society. Contrary to moral relativism, our religious traditions claim that we human beings are capable of sacrifice, of discipline, that every man and woman is capable of an ultimate and lasting commitment. And this includes the consciousness of being accountable for the acts we perform under freedom. Religion teaches its members to be good and loyal citizens of this world in order to pave the way for the next. The famous dictum, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country, is as much a religious statement as it is a political one. Every religion draws its strength not only from the doctrines and moral principles that it teaches, but also from the families that it helps nurture, preserve, protect, and defend. Without a strong family structure, we cannot hope to defend and to promote human rights and dignity, still less build a healthy society where rights are balanced by duties and freedom is tempered by responsibility. It is only within such a structure that the idea of the human individual as being cast in the image of God could originate. The family is as much a religious institution as it is a social one, perhaps even more. Although Christians acknowledge that religion and the secular state are distinct domains, they also believe that both have a duty to dialogue and collaborate towards a more humane and a more caring society. A rediscovery of religion would go a long way towards healing our fragmented societies. Religion educates towards reverence, thereby enabling us to develop a sense of awe and mystery. And our hope lies in the certainty that all men and women are capable of sensing the wonder and mystery of existence, that we all have a capacity for reverence. Among the many things that religious tradition holds in store for us is a legacy of wonder. The surest way to suppress our ability to understand the meaning of God and the importance of worship is to take things for granted. We must avoid falling into the trap of believing that everything can be explained, that reality is a simple affair which needs only to be organized in order to be mastered, that all enigmas can be solved, and all wonder is nothing but the effect of novelty upon ignorance. It is true that religion today has become a battleground for diverse understandings of the human person, of God, of this earth, and the relationship between the three. But even underneath these conflicts, we are witnessing a spiritual hunger that cannot be eliminated from society. These are indications that we are not living and can never live in a totally secularized culture. On the contrary, a new form of religious culture is evolving. However, in spite of our efforts and our abilities, we must accept the fact that the final result of our action might also reveal a certain degree of failure, whether on the level of our own personal action or on the collective level on the scale of civilization. The human element will remain forever present. Such failure is always a painful reminder of human frailty, or the more deeply felt by someone who looks at the supernatural dimension of reality. But this should not lead us to despair. Our hope lies beyond. Our structures and institutions will always be ambiguous and imperfect. Our civilizations condemned to decline and die. But fulfillment does not lie in the accomplishment of the ordering of the secular city. On the contrary, we should always keep in mind that true history, one which has meaning, is not accomplished within a space-time framework that can be empirically observed. Modern thought knows its roots to the famous statement of the philosopher Descartes, "I think, therefore I am." The believer standing before God can only utter the words, and here I'm quoting from the great humanist, 15th century humanist, Cardinal Nicholas of Cusa, "Given that for you," you meaning God, "given that for you, seeing is being, Therefore I am, because you look at me. It is incumbent upon believers, Christians or otherwise, to discern God's action in the world and to bear witness to it in our struggles with the harsh realities of everyday life. Here we would do well to constantly recall the timely and insightful words of the late priest-psychologist Ignaz Lepp, and I quote from his works. The Christian's attitude to all other creatures must be like that of the priest at the altar. He knows that through him, through his daily activity, the whole world is consecrated to God. The sorrows and failures of life are for him no meaningless vexations, for he knows that they also contribute to God's great work. We know with St. Paul that all things work together for good for those who love God. The believer must never be complacent, for complacency is akin to death. Because he is aware of his mission as God's collaborator, the believer can be content with no given or contrived situation. The present must forever be overtaken by the new. The Christian, in a truer and greater sense than the Trotskyist, is a permanent revolutionary. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Elul. And after the Christian perspective, it is now time for our Islamic scholar of the evening, Imam Ibrahim Ahmad Nunan. Imam Ibrahim is the Imam of the Mariam Mosque in Galway, Ireland, and the Vice National President of Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Ireland. He has studied philosophy and theology, both Christian and Islamic, graduating from University of Wales Trinity of St. David and the Dominican Institute of Theology and Philosophy at ITT Dublin. He spent another 7 years with the Ahmadiyya Islamic Institute of Theology and Languages in London. Imam Ibrahim has a passion for humanitarian work and human rights. His other passion is ecumenical dialogue between all faiths, and he is very active in this area. He has given many talks on Islamic issues in many universities in the United Kingdom and Ireland. He is a well-known commentator and writer in the national newspapers in Ireland and has been invited on many national radio and TV programs in Ireland and the UK. He has also worked in other countries like Iceland, Israel, Bosnia, Holland, and Bangladesh. He's married and has 5 children. He's a keen sportsman with a level of 3rd degree black belt in martial arts. And he loves reading history. So watch out. Imam Ibrahim, kindly.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Respected Chair, respected National Sadr of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Malta, and respected scholars and speakers, I would like to offer you my Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace and blessings of Almighty God be upon you, and also to my brothers and sisters and distinguished guests also. It is actually an honor for me to be here in Malta, to have been asked to come here and present the Islamic perspective in regarding this extremely important subject. It was also indeed an honor for me to have been sitting in the company of Her Excellency the President of Malta. And unfortunately I did not have the opportunity to express that to her when she was here. But as I'm sitting amongst all citizens of Malta, I would hope that you will express that to her if you ever see her in the future. The subject actually is a very important subject. It's extremely important in that when we have seen such incidents over the last 10 to 15 years, and perhaps even more, starting with 9/11 and 7/7, etc. And the recent events in France, in Australia, and now the recent events in Paris also, where nearly another tragedy nearly took place, all being so-called done in the name of Islam, and also those things which we are observing and watching every day, nearly every day. If you put the news on, you will be hearing sad stories regarding Syria and Iraq and Kenya. All of these which the world is observing such violence and barbaric killings of innocent human beings, innocent civilians. But the truth is that these people are doing such acts of barbaric violence and viciousness, and which can only be called pure evil. The problem is that they are being observed, and people are asking the question that is it the cause of Islam, and why are these such things happening? The chair said something earlier on regarding the theoretically belief of such incidents being part of a religion, and also that Islam, or religion indeed itself, is meant to be peaceful. The fact is that Islam is a religion which teaches peace and tolerance. It teaches kindness and forgiveness. It has been blamed for many years by many, and that includes atheists and secularists, that Islam, and indeed religion itself, but Islam is the blame for such atrocities, which is going on at the moment. People are asking that what is in the Holy Quran, what is there that is causing these people to do these things? These are on the minds of everyone and anyone at this moment in time. I myself, who am a regular, I suppose you can use the word preacher, I convey the message of Islam wherever I can. And it's the one thing that is being put to me all the time on the streets of Ireland and anywhere that I go. It's the first thing I'm asked, is that if Islam is a religion of peace, why are these people doing this? And to be honest, there was a time, even I myself was getting quite annoyed, perplexed with such incidents which were causing and blemishing the pure name of Islam. At times, I became exhausted with week after week, month after month, having to go out and again re-explain and re-explain and re-express that this is not the teachings of Islam. In the Holy Quran is full of such verses which completely refute such allegations. Yes, there may be verses in the Holy Quran where the radicals or the extremists, so-called Muslims, those who hijack the name of Islam, may get one or two verses and they may extract from it something and they manipulate it to use in their cause. But when you go to such verses, you will come to find very clearly and very quickly it has nothing to do with what you're observing in Iraq or in Syria now. There isn't a single verse in the Holy Quran which gives the permission to take another human life, another human being's life in the cause of Islam. There are verses in the Holy Quran which deal with wars, and they must be kept confined to those areas. 1500 years ago, when Islam had to survive its infancy, because it was a new faith, it had a new teaching, the society at that time was not open to it. So they chose to attack it and try to finish it. So there had to be defensive wars. And those ayats of the Quran which refer to such things, which you may have heard many, many times, verses like, strike them at the neck and cut their heads off, or strike them at the neck and cut their fingers off, are being manipulated and twisted, when actually these verses of the Holy Quran are simply referring to the situation of defensive war of that time. Many people, including Muslims, and probably more so, they don't reflect, they don't read, they don't try to understand what the Holy Quran